to call this meeting to order. This is the Kensington Town Council meeting for Monday, August 14th, 2023. So this is an entire virtual meeting. We are not meeting in person at all this month. So we will have a moment of silence. Is there anyone that we would like to bring up?
I'd like to bring up Jennifer Ivory. Well, not a town resident. She lived in Kensington Heights for a long time. She's a dear family friend. She passed away on July 11th. And Jennifer was also one of the people who helped to found the Villages of Kensington and was a officer and a board member there for years, as well as with Ken Monpool and Riding the Mark. You know, we would see her every Saturday coming and going from the farmers market, but after a long and valiant battle with cancer, she passed away in July.
Okay, thank you. You said it was Karen?
This is Jennifer Ivory.
Jennifer.
So I just want to hold up her husband Bill and her daughter Nora, who are good friends.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, all right, if we could just bow our heads for a moment. Okay, thank you very much. And we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Was there any change? I didn't see any edits to the minutes. So if we can just make a motion.
Sure, I move that we approve the minutes from the July Town Council meeting.
So do we have to do two separate motions, one for organizational meeting and then one for the county council?
Sure.
Yeah, we probably should.
So I'll begin by saying I move that we approve the minutes from the town's organizational meeting held July 10th.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Second.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
And now I move that we approve the town council minutes from the regular town council meeting of July 10th.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. All right, and we'll move down to the acknowledgements. We do you want to acknowledge that starting next month, the council meetings on the second Monday will be moved to the second Wednesday. So we will be meeting on Wednesday, September 13th. And of course, that meeting will be at 7 o'clock. Did we determine if we were doing that live or our in-person? I don't recall.
Staff is planning to have the meeting in person with a hybrid option.
Okay. So September will be in person on the second Wednesday, which is the 13th of September at 7 p.m. Okay. And there will be the virtual option, of course. All right. We'll want to remind the council that we are meeting next Monday at Town Hall at 9 a.m. To discuss the covenant with the property located at 10401 Connecticut Avenue and the draft lease agreement with 10509 Summit Avenue for the 48 parking spaces at the flats. Council, is there any questions about that for staff? No? Anyone in the audience have any questions? Okay, we will be meeting with our town attorney and more than likely we will close the meeting to discuss some other issues with them. Okay. So we'll move on. So let's get council reports. We'll start with Darren.
I have anything to report this month.
Okay. Nate?
Nothing. Well, I guess I do have one thing to report and ask for views on is the Walktober event. So we've been doing this now for 2 years where we have celebrated some of the advancements that we've made in pedestrian and bicycling safety and improvements throughout the town. There's a plan. We hope to do the third one again. we're aiming for, we wanted to see if the last week in October would work for everybody. I know that it tends to be a packed weekend, but all of October, I believe, is always got a lot of events,
Busy
but
month.
that's the preferred weekend. Even though there's a good chance I might not be here myself for a work trip, but we have Alan, Simon, and Allison Derland who are leading the planning on that. That's the one that works the best for them. And the idea would be to do it similarly to last year, where we'd go and see some of the improvements, probably some of the ones that are along Connecticut Avenue, Matt, that are going to take place, and also maybe the St. Paul improvements there at the intersection there if they're done by then. And what we've talked about providing an additional incentive. Last year, we did end up at Baby Cat after the walking tour, which I thought was really well received. But this year, we're talking about incorporating more of an incentive around reaching out to some of our businesses and providing some vouchers or coupons or something for people who participated in the event to then go and go afterwards sometime for the next couple of weeks and be able to see some of the establishments in our area, probably the restaurants and stores. So we're thinking about reaching out to some businesses to support that event by offering that incentive this year. So that's the plan. Just wanted to get views on the date and the concept of reaching out to some of the businesses to provide those vouchers.
You talking about the 28th, like Saturday, the 28th?
Yeah, it would be planned for the Saturday, and
Okay.
like previous years, the Sunday would be the rain date.
Okay. I would definitely put pedals to the metal on your business list. They're really, really great in participating.
Oh, yeah, that's good. And we can also pick your brain when we think about who specifically to reach out to. If there's others that you have in mind that have been generous in the past.
Okay. Well, you always hate to hit them up all the time, but I think
Well, I guess since you raised that, I think we ought to consider just buying some gift cards from them. Because I mean, we have money for the undertaking, and maybe always asking them to donate is not the right message.
yeah, maybe a $10 gift card or something like that. Buy a
Yeah, I would say we're also working with Kensington Can, and they've been collecting donations from local businesses currently for the back to school block party. So we'll be hitting them up potentially soon after for Walktober.
Right.
Yeah. No, those are good ideas, and we can again. This is very early in the planning, but we can talk with. I guess we could. I mean, we can consider both options. Should we just go with buying them ourselves?
I would. I like that idea because it turns it around where the town is supporting them this time
Yeah.
around. I mean, we're not talking about large amounts, but if
No.
you got a $10 gift card or something, I think that would be good.
Would it be? How would that work though? So it would be specific to each business, or we could ask them to participate in this gift
Well,
card
I think a lot of the
process.
businesses have gift cards. I mean, they can always type one up if they needed to. If they don't actually give them out, they could have a voucher that they could get reimbursed with. Maybe, I don't know. We'd have to talk to
Okay.
a couple. Maybe we talk to Kensington Can.
I was
They
going to say, talk
probably-
to Kensington Can and see
Yeah.
how they would recommend.
Yeah, but I think most of them have gift cards.
Got it. Okay. Great. Thanks.
Does anybody in the audience have any questions for Nate about Walktober? Okay, I'm seeing any hands.
And then the only other thing is Sustainable Kensington, and I don't know if you have any updates. If you want to give, that update, I'm happy to. If you want.
Oh, just that we're under our second review, I think, of our submission. Is that accurate, Alex and
Yeah,
Nate?
it's the external review of
Yeah.
some of their external experts. We got it in.
hopefully we'll hear more soon, but again, big thank you to our team and to Alex for putting in a lot of effort to put in our bronze certification application.
Do you think we'll have more information at the October meeting or September? Excuse me.
I think it's decided in September, right, Alex? I forget the date that he just communicated to us.
I think so. And we have one more opportunity to make edits to our application. They're doing a second review and we'll get that feedback. We'll have a chance to edit it again. And then I think we'll find out in September, October.
Okay.
Yeah, so if not September, we'll know by October.
Okay, cool. All right. Any questions about sustainable Kensington? Any hands? Okay. Anne, did you want to?
Just one quick announcement to share. I just mentioned we will have our 3rd annual back to school block party that the Kensington Racial Justice Committee is doing in partnership with Kensington Can and the town. It is going to be that Saturday, August 26th from 2 to 4 p.m. on the lawn of the Kensington House apartment building on Frederick Avenue. Our rain location is Town Hall, so if we have threatening storms like we did last year and have to scramble and go inside, we can. But it's a great community event. We really encourage people of all ages to come out. Even if you don't have anybody in your family going back to school, you should still come. There'll be music, ice cream. We're working to arrange some food, and there'll be DJ and activities for the kids. And as I mentioned, Kensington Can is very generously working with the business community to come up with some awesome back to school raffle prizes for the kids. So I hope to see many of you there.
All right, Connor, I'm sorry, any questions regarding Anne's report? Okay, Connor?
Just one, want to thank Mayor Tracy for coming out, and then Susan and Matt for their support. We're looking at the playground at St. Paul Park and applying for some grants available through the state that are due next week, the applications, to make the playground area at St. Paul Park more inclusive, both for those with different types of disabilities, whether that's physical disabilities or some of the social emotional disabilities, but also multi-generational. So one of the things in talking to different residents and people using the park, the wood chips, while they provide a nice comforting surface should you fall, are really unsteady for older generation grandparents and people who might be with their younger kids. So we're looking at different coverage, this flexi path kind of surface, as well as maybe adapting some different apparatuses. So we solicited a few different designs from different vendors and just some price estimates to give us an idea of what to put into a grant application. So the biggest lift, and thank you to Susan and Matt and town staff, Alex, for helping support getting that application together for next week.
Did we make a determination of whether the mulch is, we can replace the mulch with the, we made that determination yet?
Yeah, Matt, have you heard?
I know you said work with Jeff Wallstriker, which we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have specific clarity on that, but we're going to go ahead and file the application for the grant and see what happens. It's very competitive. We can always come back next year, but we'll go ahead and proceed.
Okay. Well, I know as you know, my feelings about the mulch. I think it's having that. It's not ADA and it doesn't last for 20 years. We have long ago replaced the mulch that came with that apparatuses. So
Yeah.
anyway. Okay. Connor, you have anything else?
That was it. Thank you.
Okay. The only couple of things I just want to bring up. We are on this weekend, we're moving everything out of the archives. So we're going to get that emptied, and then we'll look at putting in, getting that project going with the paint, flooring, and checking the HVAC system down there to make sure it's adequate for ventilation. And then we've taken some applications for an archivist, a part-time archivist, or quarter-time mostly. And so that's moving along. And so hopefully early by spring, we'll have everything back together. So that project is moving along. the Journal went to the press today, so we should have that out in the mail to catch the August, end of August, events. And then we will be doing another one, probably in October, November issue. So look to have that, deadline probably around the 15th of September. After the town meeting. And, I've got a group together who volunteered. We're gonna start working on the 130th anniversary of the town next April. So didn't know if anybody on the council would be interested in joining that meeting, joining that committee. So, how about you, Darren? Want to do it?
I'm willing to help, but I'm not much of a party planner.
Okay, well, you just have to be the sane voice in the room. How's that?
As long as I have a big enough budget.
Yeah, we put in a good sized budget to, I mean, we're
Well, the
just,
125th was a lot of fun, so I think it's great that we do it.
yeah, we're just trying to figure out whether, maybe this one is more family friendly, kid friendly, we're just gonna try to mix it up a little bit. So we'll come back with a kind of an outline probably in October or November. So, and what else? The new directory should be going in the mail in a couple of weeks. And we're just doing a final proof on it. Can't possibly ever get it completely right as people come in and come and go. But we're working on that. And the last thing I wanted to add was council member Kate Stewart has asked to attend our October meeting. We're still figuring out whether she would like to do a Q&A or give a report, but we have her on the agenda for October. Okay, any questions? Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so we will move on to the town manager and staff. Matt, first item.
Sure. Council, Holy Cross Health Partners currently is located at 3720 Farragut Avenue, and they are planning to move over to 10605 Concord Street. They have requested to move their existing sign to the Concord building at a height that exceeds the county's regulations of 26.5 feet, which is requiring a variance process through Montgomery County Sign Review Board. Within that variance process, the town of Kensington has been asked to comment. The existing sign is legal, however, because of the height requirement, staff has communicated with Holy Cross Health Partners about possibly changing the sign to an individually channeled lettered sign, which is similar to most of the signs along Connecticut Avenue. Staff is looking for feedback from council this evening to proceed with any comments to the sign review board.
Can you put that picture up that you had of the building? So people know which building we're talking about and approximately where.
So the proposed sign is in the upper left-hand corner of the Concord building. The top line height will be at 47.5 feet. Again, the county regulation is 26.5 feet. So anything above that requires a variance with Montgomery County. So this would be their variance, but it allows us the opportunity to comment.
Can you use your cursor just to highlight that area? Okay.
Matt, do you happen to know what standard the county will use in evaluating the variance?
So in the past, the county sign review board has deferred back to the town of Kensington as the municipality. They actually did that again in this case. There was a hearing back in June. I provided brief comments to Roger Waterstreet with County DPS and just let him know that if they move the sign, there are some limitations, specifically with regards to illumination after 10 p.m. They tabled the discussion and asked Holy Cross to go back to the town for comment before they go back to the sign review board.
If they were to put that sign on the say that I guess it'd be the third floor, would that height be back and They may not be on that floor, but if they came down a little lower, where would they go so they didn't need a variance on height?
Probably that's essentially the second floor, is probably around 26 and a half feet.
Okay, so the first floor being where the lobby is and then coming down.
Correct. So they're essentially branding the building, as Holy Cross.
Okay,
That's why they want the height. I don't know. I have spoken to the owner of the property, but I'm not sure how many floors, if not the entire building, they're taking over. I can clarify that if that's a request.
and there are no homes that can see this sign, is that correct?
Not in front, however, our code regulates that any property that abuts in fronts or conforms to residential property, which this property does, illumination needs to stop by 10 p.m.
Okay,
Holy Cross is not requesting a variance from the town for illumination. They've stated that if the town council allows them to use their existing sign from 3720 Farragut Avenue, they will not request a variance from the town for illumination past 10 p.m.
I'm always suspect at people actually using a timer properly. That's just me. Go ahead, Connor, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, on that, to refamiliarize myself, I went back to the county code on it. And isn't it 10 p.m. or when the business closes, and whichever one is earlier?
Correct. That is the actual general language of our code. That's the town code, not the county code.
Well, I think it's in the general provision of the county code as well. General applying to all permanent signs. But I ask only that if they are planning to illuminate it at all, shouldn't it go off when their office hours end? Like, I'm trying to figure out the need for illumination if nobody's coming and going.
Sounds like it's marketing, branding. Which
I mean,
and this is where I don't know. What I've heard in the years that Connor, you and I have been doing the design review board and new development standards is that I thought the county was moving away from sort of these signs that are way up at the top of the building and doing more pedestrian level signage, which may explain why the 26-foot limit applies. And I know we have some pre-existing signs for 10400 and the Bakers Union where the sign is up top, but I just got the sense from the county that they're looking, from the county planners, that they're looking for pedestrian level signage rather than say car, distance level signage. So I guess at first blush, it's not something that I'm particularly wanting to entertain. So I'd just be curious what other people think.
yeah, I mean, I looked at our code, and then there's a number of provisions where we just ride on the county code. So in looking at the county code, there are a number of things that, to Darren, to what you just said, jumped out at me. One was the height of the overall sign, which the county it very clearly states a maximum of 26 feet. And the illumination factor of 10 p.m. or when business ceases operation for the day, whichever comes sooner. So I'm trying to figure out and wrestle with what is the need for branding the building. I mean, presumably people either know it's there or they're going to get there by GPS if they're unfamiliar with the area, which will navigate them directly to the building. They'll see the sign when they get to Concord. And so, is there a hardship that either the business or the property owner is trying to overcome that they cannot accomplish by conforming to the current standards, Matt?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm not entirely sure what their argument was before the sign review board because they passed it back to the town for comment first.
To which
Once this goes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Would it go through a variance process for us? Or, I mean, I know right now all we would be doing is commenting to the signboard. But if it goes through the county, would it then come to us for a variance?
It would not, because we defer to the county on the height restriction. If we had a restriction that was greater than,
Mhm.
then we would come back for a variance. Actually, the sign review board would actually have them come to us for the variance first.
Got it.
But we defer to the sign review board. Again, since they're not seeking illumination that would violate our regulations, we're just providing comment to the sign review board with regards to the existing sign. What we can do in the situation is accept it and say we're okay with what they're planning to do. We could go back to the sign review board and tell them that we want a sign that's going to be on a raceway track, individual channel letters, similar to most of the signs on Connecticut Avenue now. Or we could state that we are not in favor of the height. In which case, my guess is the sign review board would not proceed with the requested 47.5 feet.
And so their plan is to take the current sign that exists on the previous building and just move that over to this building?
Correct. Staff's opinion is that that's not acceptable. The sign has been removed from 3720 Farragut. It's actually in the parking garage beneath the Concord building. It does not look in good shape. We saw it a couple weeks ago. Although it's legal, it does not fit what we would ask a builder of a new development would do along Connecticut Avenue. So we would like to provide comment that would restrict the use of the existing sign.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to reward them by using the old sign and giving them a variance to the higher height.
Can I ask about I guess it's been taken down, but Matt, it looks like from the materials that were shared that the location of their existing sign on the previous building on Connecticut Avenue was at a lower level on that building, that it was not up higher. Was it placed within the 26.5 foot limit?
It was, and I'll be honest, I'm not sure how they were able to get that sign on the Farragut building. The Allstate insurance business on that building was given a variance through the sign review board a number of years ago. They defined it as branding the building, and what they stated in the sign review board hearing when we were there was that no other signage was supposed to be on that building other than canopy signs or anything at the base. So I'm not entirely sure how the county approved that sign based on what the sign review board had said previously with regards to the Allstate sign, which is still there.
So, understanding that, so was that Allstate was branding the building, and technically what I hear you saying is that you would infer that would mean a sign wouldn't go higher than that, and Holy Cross's sign was higher. But was the Holy Cross Health sign within the 26.5 foot?
Yes, it did not. It
Okay.
was not higher than that threshold.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
There
on
was
the
no,
first level, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on the Google Maps Street View. It's still on the building at that point. It is just above the first floor window. So not ground floor, but first elevated floor, actually in line with those windows. I'd say it was probably right at about 25 feet. But at a height greater than the Allstate sign.
So council, what do you want to do? We can open it up to the public and get some feedback from them if we want.
we can also request them to attend a future council meeting for clarification on what they're trying to do. If the council would like. If not, the intent tonight is to provide comment to the sign review board.
I'd like to see if we have any comments or reactions from the public.
We can go back to I can't see. Is there any hands? There we go. Anybody would like to make a comment on this issue? I guess not. Okay. Well, my first original thought still sticks. I don't think we should allow them to put the old sign at the higher level. I just think that's just rewarding them for,
Yeah,
And
I mean,
I'm looking at the, sorry, go ahead, Connor.
oh, I was gonna say, to that comment, Tracy, I agree. Matt had a point that is sticking with me, which is any new business that we're coming into town meets a standard by having to create these channelized letters and signs that meet our current code. And while I understand that they are currently moving from one building within town to another, they are relocating, and this is, as our code says, whenever a business comes or goes or changes within the building and their sign changes, this is when things need to come back into scope with the code. And so at the very least, I think that goes to, there needs to be an updated sign.
right. Well, and there aren't buildings in front of that are tall. I mean, it's the Jiffy Lube and the Dunkin' Donuts.
Right.
So, and then there are larger trees. I mean, you could say that the trees are covering up that area, but I think the trees are also large enough because they're the big pin oaks or willow oaks up there that could be, blocking even the higher elevation if you're depending on, where you are. I'm not sure being at that height is going to help you, especially going south on Connecticut Avenue.
With Google Street View as my guide, and to your point of the pin oaks, and then there's a couple of fir trees behind the Jiffy Lube.
Mhm.
Until you are pretty much at Jean's Costumes, you wouldn't be able to see the sign at any height. I
Right.
don't think that it helps them in any way to be higher.
Yeah, I mean, your better view is coming north than going south. But even that, I just don't see the benefit
Mhm.
of putting it up that high. Well, we need to, it sounds like we would like them to get a new sign. Am I hearing that at least so we can direct staff on how to respond?
Yeah, and I know I cut you off, Darren. Darren, what else did you have?
I was just gonna say that, I suspect it's more about getting their brand out to people, the tens of thousands of people that go up and down Connecticut Avenue. And like you say, Connor, Google Maps is my friend. I mean, I remember driving around the Beltway and seeing the Holy Cross Hospital sign as you come around. And first of all, I believe it certainly looks like channelized lettering, but also just it smacks you as you come upon it. And I thought we were trying to get away from that. And so I'm not even sure if I would support the height with the channelized letters. My preference would be to keep things down at the pedestrian level. So below 26 feet.
Agreed. And to that point, to that analogy, right? The Holy Cross Hospital is also slightly different. That may have emergent healthcare needs where you are searching for that hospital under duress because you're looking for the emergency room or labor delivery unit. It's a very different argument for a 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. clinic.
Okay. Ann or Nate, any additional comments?
I mean, I care more about the height, if I'm being honest, than the sign distinction. I haven't seen their existing sign up close, and I know there's a cost, obviously, to replacing that. But to me, I don't see a compelling reason to support a waiver on the height and having it at the top for all the reasons we've discussed so far.
Okay. Nate?
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I really don't have much to add to the points made, but I'm in agreement.
Okay,
If they want, sorry.
go
If they
ahead.
want to come back and clarify something, if that the height of not the elevation, but the sign that they have, if it won't fit because the front of the Concord building seems to have like air conditioning units in each of the bays. I guess, we could hear that, but short of that, I would just not support the transfer of the sign or the height.
I mean, it would be great if they did replace the sign, but it's, what I'm hearing is, we're fine with going with the old sign at the lower height. I think that's what I'm hearing.
I didn't, I heard the opposite. I heard that there wasn't support for the old sign. Everyone was proposing channelized letters.
So if
I can
If
stand
we-
corrected.
I don't know, that's how I was following it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay.
I was in
If our
agreement with
co-
that.
Yeah, if our comments are to oppose the height restriction, anything above 26.5 feet, they have every legal right to place the existing sign at 26.5 feet.
Hmm.
If we're not okay with that, my recommendation would be to go with the higher height and a new sign. It would be more consistent with what we already have in the town, as opposed to letting them place the existing sign at 26.5 feet.
I thought that, and looking at the town code, and Connor, you were referencing this, that if there's an alteration to an existing sign, then it has to conform.
The existing sign is legal. It is legal. It was legal when we permitted it. It's legal today. It just cannot be higher than 26.5 feet. What we have the ability to do within our comments is saying it will allow you to go at a higher height, but you have to bring in a sign that is essentially more aesthetically pleasing to the community that matches the existing signage along Connecticut Avenue. If we don't make that comment, they can place the existing sign at 26.5 feet and illuminate it essentially almost at 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whatever the last office closes.
I mean, I don't think from a distance, I know up front things look a little bit more different, but the sign that was on the other building did not look bad from the street. I mean, it was not, in that. You see things differently when you're further away from them, obviously, when you're right up top, but on top of them. But I think it's just a decision. Are we willing to allow them to put the old sign at the 26 or let them have a new sign, but give them the variance?
So, Mac, just a quick question. The reason that it complies is that the light shines through the letters, but not through the blue background. Is that
Correct.
right?
Within the council packet and the public packet, there's 3 visuals of the existing sign of when we permitted it for Farragut Avenue. The third one is what we refer to as a night vision. Because the letters only shine through, it is compliant. If the whole sign illuminated, we refer to that as like a box sign, it would not be compliant and we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But because the way that they have the existing sign now, it's just letters, logos, it's not the entire sign. It is compliant, it is legal at 26.5 feet.
Yeah, I would rather, the bigger issue for me is the height. I'd rather have this sign at 26 feet than a bright, I know it's shown into residences, but I just think back to the IU carpet sign. And I don't want to go through that again. I'd like to bring the signs down to pedestrian level.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
Connor, what are you up to? Oh, that's the old one, right?
Oh, thank you. I was looking for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my first choice in signs, but it's not that unattractive.
And the other thing, I guess, I'm remembering their justification about how they want to put money towards patient care and therefore they don't want to pay for the cost of a new sign, which if they do what I want, which is bringing it down in height elevation, they won't have to. But before we accept an argument like that, I'd like some metric that says they're different from other healthcare providers.
Mhm.
You know, it's fine to just make that blanket statement, but I just don't have anything to measure it against.
Right. I realized I was on mute. I agree with that, Darren. But to Nate's point, my primary would be to have the sign at 26 feet. Looking at that picture from a distance, Tracy, to your point, the sign works well. It conforms to the current code. If they were still located on Farragut, that sign would still be up and would be providing them that same utility. If they want to move that to the other one and conform to 26 feet, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. I mean, as we discussed already, I think on Concord, it would be a challenge even at that height to see it. So I just don't see the benefit to it either.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Sounds like you got our response, Matt. Okay. All right. Number two, number two, the drill hall HVAC system.
So the heat in the drill hall went out earlier this year, and we received a quote from our service contractor MCOR for an in-kind replacement. We also received a proposal from two other service providers, one Magnolia and one from Harvey Hoddle, and we received a rough estimate from a company called Habtech through the energy audit for a complete switch over to a heat pump system. Council was provided the proposals for each. The MCOR is for an in-kind replacement only. It would not touch anything other than the heat ducts in the drill hall, which is used mostly for the play groups and occasional events within town hall. Staff has put together a resolution to accept that upon discussion from the council. I will be honest with you, this has been an interesting experience. We've asked multiple contractors for different types of proposals, including heat pumps, a variation, and we got all kinds of different answers and responses. And we'd like to move on so we have heat in October for the drill hall.
And could we, besides the cost, the time frame in which the different systems would take, if you could just go over that?
So MCOR told us an in-kind replacement lead time is about 4 weeks, and then another 3 to 4 weeks for installation. We've heard from Magnolia up to 50 weeks lead time. Harvey Hoddle was around the same time. If I remember correctly, I think it was like 40 something weeks. And then Habtech would have been much longer because it was a complete system overhaul.
That included the air conditioning too.
That
right?
included the air conditioning. The MCOR does not include the air conditioning. It's the only proposal that does not include. The air conditioning is working. This would be just for the heat ducts only.
Also questions?
I just had a couple questions, Matt, if it's okay. Matt, do you know, have you heard from the Habitat folks for the audit, the feasibility study?
Yeah, they were on site last week. I mentioned to them that we had a council meeting this evening. They said they were going to try to get the audit or the engineering analysis over to us. I did not have it as of an hour ago. So
Okay. Because just to remind the rest of the council and the people participating, there's a study being done where they would get more refined numbers for that 500,000 cost. They would look at, possible savings for some of the capital costs that we could apply for to buy that down a little bit. I think they're going to do an analysis on the O&M, on the maintenance for it, how much it would save in maintenance versus our current maintenance costs for our system now for the heating and cooling. And I think that it would also look at other ways to finance it too, the potential of using loans from the Green Bank and the Lawton loans and so on. So I was just wondering why, would it be worth getting that back first before we make a decision one way or the other on this. I think that could be really helpful to have that information, right?
So Nate, can you clarify when you said loans versus grants? Is that correct?
Yeah, so I think that the loans would be something we could use for financing at zero, probably like 0%, for financing whatever the remainder is. I think the Green Bank offers those, and the Lawton loans are also given to municipalities at 0% interest. If we didn't want to just use our cash on hand or our capital improvements budget right away. And then there are loans we can access, or sorry, there are grants that I think they're going to look at what we could piece together through the whether it's the Inflation Reduction Act, the Maryland Energy Administration grants. My sense is that that cost, and I haven't seen what they come back with, but that cost could come down closer to the other proposals that you got for both of the full system replacement, in the several $100,000 range, 2 to 3, whatever the other one was, 350, 2 to 300,000. But I'd like to have that information before moving forward, because it sounds like that should be done and it should be ready pretty soon. And so I guess my question is it worth waiting till we get that? I don't know if we'd want to wait until the full next council meeting. If it's a 2-month process, right? There's some lead time and then also the install time, which puts it out 2 months after we sign the contract. Is that right with MCOR?
So the earliest that we could take this back up is at the September council meeting. Anytime you waive the bid requirements, it has to be at a regularly scheduled council meeting.
So that would put us in September.
And that's kind of what staff got to. If we move forward with anything other than MCOR, the chances of having heat this winter are 0. And that's kind of the position we're in. We're looking at it as the play groups essentially are the only ones that use the drill hall. The town doesn't use the drill hall that much. We're not talking an incredible amount of energy. And we're looking at an in-kind replacement that is manageable within our CIP, where we don't have to go after a grant or a loan. And really, we're just trying to figure out how we can get heat in there to keep the play groups in there this winter. That is why it's on the agenda. We need the council to figure out what they want the staff to do and the direction. But if we wait any longer, we have to wait to the next September council meeting, which then puts us behind with MCOR, and then maybe doesn't get us heat until November or December. So
no, I totally understand that, but that doesn't really, if it goes in November and it's functioning in November, we still have a good chunk of the winter. It's just the first month or two, right? October. But do you have a sense, Matt, off the top of your head, what the maintenance costs are for the current heating and cooling system? What are our annual maintenance costs?
I don't have it broken down into specific units like
Okay.
that. I mean, we have general costs for the building.
We
can-
probably have a maintenance agreement, and it would be whatever that is times 12, if that includes parts and labor or just labor.
So the general maintenance agreement with MCOR is about $7,000 a year, but I don't have the energy cost breakdowns. Obviously, we have 3 separate systems within Town Hall. I'm not sure, 2 of them run off gas. It's not broken down into which unit. I would assume that the office unit is primarily the dominant cost. We're in the office, 8+ hours a day during the winter, as opposed to the drill hall where, we can set the temperatures when we're not in there.
Just not run it at all.
Do we know
Yeah.
if what the life expectancy is for the new ductwork they're putting in, or how long the existing system? I know it's at the end or over.
Yeah.
its full
I
life.
think the existing's over 30 years old, isn't it?
The existing units are over 30 years old. They're actually condemned. We're not even allowed to use them. They were condemned by Washington Gas due to a crack in the heat exchangers. And, I would imagine 20 to 25 years would be the life expectancy of this new unit.
That's long. Okay, the reason I'm asking is because trying to balance the immediate need to have heat this winter with looking at the bigger picture of transitioning to more energy efficient, lower cost, switching away from gas to electric so that we can eventually be using renewable energy. I'm wondering if there's a short-term heating solution that still allows us to complete the feasibility study. You know, the IRS guidance will be coming out for direct pay, which will cover up to 30% of the cost for local governments to switch over to more efficient systems that could cover the entire, not just the heating, but also the cooling. And I don't know if any contractors had any, I mean, clearly you're saying what's there has been condemned, it's not usable. But aside from just replacing the gas ductwork, were there any other like short-term possible solutions?
Not that was provided by any of the contractors. You know, my understanding from being with all the contractors is even if we moved over to a heat pump, we would still need auxiliary heat, which they would run off gas. This is not my background. I don't know a ton of it. I mean, I tried to understand this the best I could, and it didn't sound like whatever they put in heat pump wise was still going to have auxiliary heat for a certain temperature. Again, you were dealing with the drill hall that doesn't get used by the staff. It's used by the play groups a couple of nights a week during the winter. You know, I don't know what the exchange or the use of the heat is. We're looking at this as trying to get heat for the play groups this winter and use some of our funding for other things, specifically the solar panels that we're looking at Town Hall. That's kind of where I'd like to focus staff's attention, but you know, we need direction from council.
I think the time period in which it's going to take to get this changeover is crazy. I mean, you could 40 weeks means that's just getting the equipment. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get installed within that time period. I don't know. I'm sorry, Connor, go ahead.
Those are going to be a couple of my questions as I look over these different bids and looking at the lead time. So MCOR to go with just replacing the heat with our current system is a lead time of 4 to 5 weeks and a build time of 3 to 4 weeks. That was your point that, you know, it would take about 2 months to replace the heating from the MCOR system and make the drill hall operational again with heat, right? But the lead time on the other systems is many, many months, meaning this winter's gone. But for some of these, it could be like 6 months plus just to get the equipment, then have it installed. And to your point, Matt, we would need auxiliary systems to go with them. The other thing I'm wondering is if we replace at $53,000 the heat units, what, again, knowing this isn't your background or specialty, but what's the current lifespan of the air conditioning handling units for those areas?
So they will probably need to be addressed in the near future. When I say near future, probably the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
So that's something that, you know, we might be able to look at now, knowing that, switching over to something else and maybe getting a little more help. Again, this is not my background. I've asked a million questions and I don't think I'm any more knowledgeable than I was a few months ago on this. Talking to 4 different vendors.
Are the MCOR units, is there any possibility that the MCOR heat units, if purchased now, could remain as the auxiliary unit for anything that we changed over to in 5 years?
I could definitely ask our MCOR sales representative tomorrow morning that question and see if they could use that. Obviously, there's going to be a gas line there. There's gas in the building, and see how they can incorporate it.
But it may just be that approving tonight, or approving the MCOR solution could be the first step in a longer term solution to be replaced when the AC units need in roughly 3 to 5 years. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I think that's a really good idea. And even if not, I think if in 3 to 5 years, we need to replace the AC units or the cooling unit, I suspect, and I don't know why I suspect this, just maybe just a personal experience replacing our own HVAC system, that the air conditioning component is probably going to be more expensive, but maybe that's a incorrect assumption. But I think that's a really good plan, I mean, I think even at that point, it might make sense to replace the full system, even if they can't serve as an auxiliary backup unit at that point, especially if we can get some of the incentives, if they're still out there, to do the full system as a electrification.
Yeah. No, I was thinking along the same lines, and actually gives us time to tie in the planning with solar
Mhm.
and how that would be designed into the system too, for not only operating, but potentially battery storage for power. And just the timing with everything, even if we do the short-term MCOR solution, we know we're still going to need this bigger investment and want to make these other transitions, and that is going to take a little time.
But wouldn't you want to start replacing, I mean, if we go with MCOR just to get the heat going, wouldn't you want to start looking to replace the air conditioning, even though it's still working, but to get that in line, so in maybe in 2 years, you're ready to go?
That's what I'm saying. I
don't want to
think,
wait till it's broken, because then we're in the same problem
No.
we're in now.
no, that is what I'm saying, Tracy. I
Okay.
think the feasibility study and a heat pump does heating and cooling.
Mm,
Even
okay.
though the name is heat pump, it's misleading.
Yes,
So, so yeah, get that going, planning to replace the AC and also tie in with whatever solar we're able to do, and just understand the range of options, knowing how long it's taking.
Okay. So am I hearing that we want to direct staff to go ahead with the MCOR, or do we still want to wait till maybe September to see the report?
I mean, I think as long as it's well noted in our notes and our minutes, that is the intention, that we would still take the Habitat proposal design, the feasibility design study, and continue to pursue that in earnest in the next couple of years, regardless of whether there's a backup. We can use it as the auxiliary, what's being installed for the heating now, the heating ducts as an auxiliary backup. As long as that's well noted, I think to me, that's a sensible solution. It's the right way to go.
Okay.
And for Matt to do what Connor and Matt discussed, having Matt ask tomorrow,
Mhm.
if our assumption that it could serve as auxiliary heating to a heat pump type system, if that's true, or if they would need to alter their proposal in any way to make that possible. They may not know yet, but
Yeah, do you think the MCOR fellow would be able to answer that question?
I'll ask.
Okay.
I can't honestly say that my questions have been thoroughly answered throughout this process at all.
Okay.
But Matt, you have the MCOR proposal. We could also share that with, is it Sandy Habitat who you've been working with?
Yeah, over with Habtech and in the group over there, yeah.
Yeah, and ask them if
What they
that's
say.
whatever the specs are for that, if it makes it, and they've seen the space and they know where those are
Yeah.
placed versus where the units they would put in go.
Yeah, and I will add that the solar panels group was actually on site on Friday. They did a review of the building. They're supposed to provide us a report in a couple weeks. We did mention to them the concerns that Maryland Historical Trust had with the battery pack being visible from the street. So they are aware of that. And I'm hoping that they can give us some good information once we get that report.
All right, so are we making a motion to with some elements of do this first before you move forward? I don't want to.
We should wait till we get down to ordinances, resolutions, and
Okay, but
regulations.
I want to be clear on what direction we were going to go in. Because otherwise,
Yeah, I'm in favor of moving forward with the MCOR solution. Yes, some additional questions to be asked of MCOR and with Habitat for longer range planning, knowing that the AC portion of HVAC needs to be addressed probably in 3 to 5 years. This would give us some more information to make a longer term capital improvement decision. But in the immediate, I would support moving forward with the current MCOR services quote and directing staff to do so.
okay. Does the audience have any questions? Joe?
Yes, thank you. I've heard reference tonight among the council that these are bid, but this is really not a bid package. These are estimates that the town got. Is that correct?
They are estimates, Joe.
Okay. And I was wondering if the town manager might just briefly explain that payment schedule that MCOR has proposed. It's on page 2 of its offer, or proposal, or estimate. 10% with agreement commencement, 40% with material ordering, and then 50% with progress payments. What are they?
Just completion stages. So we would provide basically a deposit for them to begin the work, then they would get a percentage midpoint, and then once the job is complete, we'd give them a final payment.
Because I don't know what a progress payment is, and
Basically for this purpose, it would be the end of the job, once it's completed, once it's installed and operating.
thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on. Excuse me. All right, we're gonna go down to ordinance, resolutions, and regulations. Matt?
Council, this evening is the resolution we just discussed. Resolution number R-14-2023, resolution of the mayor and council of the town of Kensington authorizing a contract with MCOR Services Combustioneer for the replacement of 2 Resner duct heaters within the drill hall at the Kensington Town Hall. For the record, please note that the council would have to waive the bid requirement to accept this contract, which is the approval of an extra majority vote, which is 1 more council member than is present.
All right. Is there any questions before we do motion? All right, not seeing any questions. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Sure.
Make a motion.
Oh, go ahead, Darren.
Approve resolution number R-14-2023.
Okay, is there a second? Oh, Nate, go.
I just noticed that, I don't know if this matters so much, but there's a typo. It says ECMCOR in the whereas. I don't know if you want to correct that as amended then. You see that, Matt?
Yes, I thought I corrected that already, but apparently I didn't. So
But I might also be looking at the version you sent
yeah,
out.
Susan, I know I corrected at least one other place. Susan caught it.
Yeah.
But we'll go ahead and make
Yeah,
the
because the one I'm
correction.
looking at is fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll make sure that the final copy is corrected.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, last item on the agenda is public appearances. It's that opportunity to bring something up that has not been talked about this evening. Okay. Joe?
Yeah, I was just wondering where plans stand for the town's Labor Day parade. It wasn't mentioned at tonight's meeting, and we're less than a month away. So I'm just wondering if there's anything to report on that front.
Well, as far as I know, it's going all smoothly. Matt, do you you and Alex?
We are scheduled for our annual Labor Day Parade and Festival on Monday, September 4th. The parade will kick off at 10 a.m. The festival will start at the same time. We are working with our coordinators to finalize everything. Mayor Furman, I defer to you to announce our Grand Marshal if you'd like.
Oh, sure. I asked Jamie Boston to be the Grand Marshal, and he was very touched and humbled, and he looks forward to leading the parade. And hopefully he'll have his girls with him, and because I know they'll enjoy it. So. Mhm.
he has 2 girls, right?
2 girls.
Can we clarify with the 1912 Oldsmobile how many people can be on it?
Well, I told him to be in touch with Matt to make sure, because I didn't know if his wife wanted to come.
Well,
We will be making some vehicle changes to accommodate Jamie and his family.
that's what I wanted. I just didn't want it to be a day of surprise.
It might require 2 Thunderbirds, but
He can have mine.
Victoria's well aware of the situation.
Yep. I gladly give up my Thunderbird. I make my kids walk.
Same.
Maybe they could ride in the back of the Kabuta. So,
Since I'll be in an undisclosed location, you can have my Thunderbird too.
anyway. Any other questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any.
Can I just make
Hey, sure.
one reflection real quick? It was not on my report, so I didn't say it then, but it usually comes up in this period when we would have Jack giving the
Oh, the stars.
astronomy updates. But I just wanted to say, if anyone got to see the first seed meteor shower last couple of days, it's been really beautiful. I've been able to see it up here in Michigan, watched it, blows up late last night with the kids, and it's just it made me really think of him and just really how much I missed those updates. But it was quite the shower this year. I mean, it
Oh,
was
well, you were in a good
remarkable.
location to see them. So
yeah, we were really lucky. We were really lucky. We saw, I think, 7 or 8 within 45 minutes. So
wow.
they were all over.
Wow.
On
Thank
that
you.
note, if you haven't had a chance to see the mural on the back side of Old Town Market, please, to anybody in town, go and take a look. There's kind of an homage to Jack and obviously Warner Mansion, but to the astrological happenings over Kensington on that mural as it takes its final stages.
I didn't even realize it was up already. That's great.
Yeah, it's still a work in progress. Nicole had some other jobs that has taken her away, so she'll be back to it soon, but she's had a great conversation with Claudia. She got some great pictures of Jack to make sure his silhouette is just right. And we're also going to try to figure out how to hide some of those mathematical equations. So
Good job. Awesome. It's great.
yeah, so she's really looking forward to getting back to the mural as she is, as soon as she can. So
Last comment, I made it to Alex, but the Friday before, for the Labor Day festivities, if you're in need of people to put in no parking signs, I know just the young town residents who could come over and help, and they've already done it. They're well trained and seasoned.
It reminds me, we do need volunteers for Labor Day, preferably 16 years old, because they'll need to move some type 3 barricades. But which aren't too heavy, but I mean they are quite large.
How many do
So,
you need, Matt, volunteer wise?
100.
Okay.
No, I mean if
four.
another 5 people would be really, really helpful.
Maybe we should
I
advertise
will
it.
I will also note that you get a gift card from a town business for volunteering.
Yep.
we have to bribe our Labor Day volunteers.
I was thinking, can you put up a volunteer sign at Baby Cat and maybe Carly's Deli, like the local in spots where people grab, a drink.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a great idea. So just so you know, I'm going down to North Carolina, not this week, but the following week. I'm going to see my son, who I have not seen since 2019. I'm going to see him in person, his wife and daughter, my granddaughter. So I'm very excited. So our Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Connor, will be in charge.
Checks for everybody. No more direct
Right.
deposit.
Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to that. And but I'll just I will miss the the community picnic thing, though. I'm sorry.
Back to school party. That's okay.
Wait, it
So-
just dawned on me. You're leaving the week before Labor Day?
I'm leaving the 22nd.
Okay.
No, I'll be back
Okay.
before Labor Day.
Just
There's a
making
whole
sure.
week after I get back. So, but yeah, and if you need somebody from Public Works, there's at least one person on Public Works that likes overtime. So if you need somebody for that particular event, let Matt know.
Yeah, we are, and I forgot to mention this in my announcement about the event, but the RJC is having a planning meeting on site this Wednesday at 7:30 to kind of go through layout and logistics. So I told Matt I'd call him after that meeting to share what any requirements are, and we'll let you know. Thank you.
Okay. And the last thing I want to say is that Nate, there's still 2 chickens. They're doing good. And I hope
Yeah.
been bothering you too much.
Oh my goodness. No. I only saw it after it was posted again that they were found, but so there was not too much stress over here. I just felt bad for Sam. Poor Sam.
I know, she was so funny. She said, should I tell Nate? Should I tell Nate? I said, no, he'll see the email.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we saw. But that bush, I mean, where they hide, that is
That's a toughie. Yeah. So anyway,
Right.
all right.
okay. Thanks.
If you
Thanks,
lose
though.
one, we can slip one of mine in and see if they notice.
That sounds good. We'll remember that as a backup plan.
I know, right? Yeah, she would have been devastated. You left with 2. You got to come back to 2.
Gosh. Awesome.
Well, she loves your chicken. So anyway.
Well, she does a great job.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I need a
Thanks,
motion to
everyone.
adjourn.
Oh,
I need a motion
Motion
to,
to adjourn?
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.